On today's episode of Locked On Angels, the Angels score 7 in the first 4 innings last night, and they beat the Baltimore Orioles, just trying to save time, and break a 5-game losing streak. And Griffin Canning pitched a whole lot better. We're going to tell you what he did differently this time than in the previous starts. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts, just like MW Chavo79 did. Johnny, he said, there are a couple of great guys who love baseball and the Angels. It's an easy 30-minute listen, and I've become an everydayer. Thanks for the daily content for my drive to work. Well, you're so welcome. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB. Use our promo code, all lowercase, LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Mike, we're here 5 days a week talking Angels baseball with you every single Monday through Friday. We love talking Angels baseball with our everydayers, and it's our third season here at Locked On Angels, and we're having a lot of fun. I know there's ups and downs, but we do appreciate all the interaction and all the discussion around Angels baseball that we get to have on today's show. Did you get superstitious yesterday in order to help the Angels get that win against the Baltimore Orioles? Just trying to save time.
I got a story.
Oh, good. Well, we have your story. I've got a story. And I think we have some everydayer stories as well, Mike. We'll take a closer look at what Griffin Canning did last night that brought him some success. But first, let's recap all the details from last night's game against the Orioles.
Yeah, Johnny, Mike Trout batting leadoff. And
what year is it?
That. Right. I love that. And there's been a lot of conversation about Mike Trout batting leadoff. And
hey, I got to give Jared Timms over at Talking Halos props, because he's been on that train.
Oh, he has
forever.
Yep. I got a text from Locked On Everydayer Cope, who said that he pitched in college, and the team that he faced had Eric Chavez leading off, and he said that's intimidating. So I love having a really strong hitter in the leadoff spot. Not a lot of RBI opportunities, but can get the game going and get the team right offensively. And that's exactly what Mike Trout did last night. Led this game off with his 9th home run of the season. I love this tweet from Jeff Fletcher. He said, Trout's last home run to lead off the first inning was 9/28/2012, which was also a long time ago, because Sam Blum was in 3rd grade. So making a joke about Sam Blum.
Also, I think it was against Ryan Dempster.
Yes.
And he was starting that game. That's crazy, Mike.
Yeah. From Matt Birch, Mike Trout's 9 home runs through the first 24 team games are tied for 3rd most in Angels history. He tied himself, Johnny. Only higher totals are 10 home runs through 24 games in 2018 and 2020 by Mike Trout. So Trout tied Trout, and that's a beautiful thing. Bottom second, Johnny, the Angels continue to score some runs with 1 out. Joe Adell doubles. Love-hate relationship, man. This guy had a good offensive game last night.
Lots of love, Mike, in this one.
When he's going, right? Rengifo then singles him in. He takes second base on an outfield bobble. Then Neto, who's starting to get hot, he singles in Rengifo, takes second base on the throw home. Johnny, at this point, the Angels led 3-0. And I have a note, and I'd love your thoughts here. I noticed in Trout's first 2 at-bats that he was swinging at the pitches that he didn't swing at the night before. And when he swung at those pitches, he was fouling them off and he was making the pitcher work. I know in his second at-bat, he did strike out and then later on did strike out. But the pitches that he was being thrown were at the top of the zone, but they were in the zone. And it was pitches that I think he should have swung at. So it was nice to see that adjustment. Obviously, you want to see some success, but it seems like Trout from the night before was like, those are pitches I got to at least try to foul off, right?
Yeah, Mike Trout is at his best when he's working long at-bats and fouling off a bunch of stuff and really frustrating the pitcher and doing all of the above. And that's what good hitters do, Mike. And I have loved watching his ABs so far this year because it feels like classic Trout, where he's fighting and fouling, and yeah, it might be 1-2, but he's also fouled off like 6 pitches in a row. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's the best version of Mike Trout, and eventually you make a mistake to a guy like Mike Trout, and then that's when he takes advantage.
Yeah, he's not washed, just his manager, right? Like he's doing just great. Bottom third, Taylor Ward leads off with a double. Hit the first pitch, John, and really crushed that first pitch down into the corner with 2 outs. Logan O'Hoppe had a couple of hits in this game, has an RBI double. It was another hit with runners in scoring position and a hit with 2 outs, which is exactly what the Angels need, followed by a Joe Adell RBI single. At this point, it was 5-0.
Yeah, then the bottom of the fourth came along. Rengifo led off with an infield single. Neto doubles and doubles in Rengifo to score with 1 out. Shawnoel singles in Neto. So the Angels were leading 7-0.
Yeah.
Not something that you expected against Grayson Rodriguez. I know they got to Rodriguez last year when they faced him, but Rodriguez did get sent down and come back, and he's been good so far this season, and he was good against us in game 2 of the season. And so it was just very good to see them get to Grayson Rodriguez in this one. By the top of the 7th, Mike, the Orioles had cut the lead to 7-4. Canning gave up 3 runs before he left after the 5th. We're going to talk about him more in depth later on, but they did kind of work their way back. And, Matt Moore came into this one. Jackson Holliday had to hit a comebacker right at Matt Moore, and trying to get out of the way, he put his hand up and it hit his pitching hand, and he stayed in the game, but you could tell he just was not comfortable. In fact, he actually gave up a home run in the top of the 7th after that happened. They did throw out Holliday, but the next batter was able to hit 1 out. Luis Garcia relieved Moore with 1 on and 1 out in the 7th, faced Ryan Mountcastle, gave up a single. With runners at first and second, Garcia got Santander to fly out. That was huge.
Yeah.
And that was another Joe Adell thing that I saw, was just him motoring to get that one in right field from Santander.
Good defense. Yeah, let's acknowledge. I'll acknowledge it. Not less.
Yes.
I will acknowledge it. That was good defense.
Yeah. And then with 2 outs and runners at first and third, Garcia strikes out Cedric Mullins. 7-4 Angels at this point. And then we head to the top of the 8th, Mike.
Yeah, Garcia comes back out for his second inning of work. He gets the Orioles 1-2-3, Johnny, and that was huge because Estevez was warming up.
Yeah.
And they were kind of questioning like when he would come in. If Garcia gets in trouble, maybe he throws too many pitches. But Garcia did exactly what you need him to do in that moment. And the move to get Matt Moore in the 7th inning, I think, was a wise move because you're facing some of the toughest hitters in this lineup. And then, of course, the ball comes back and hits him in the hands, so he has to leave. But Garcia relieving him and actually getting outs is what you want from somebody in Luis Garcia's position, which brings out Carlos Estevez, John, and he hadn't pitched since last Tuesday because really hasn't been a save opportunity, right? And so there was a bit of like, oh, brother, what are we going to do? But he Ks the first batter, Holliday, then Henderson grounds out the first, and then Estevez strikes out Adley Rutschman, and that ended the game. Final score, 7-4. Angels get their 10th win of the season. They break that 5-game losing streak. There were a couple of positives in this game, weren't there, John? Yeah,
actually, so you have the stat here, the 6 through 9 hitters for the Angels had at least 2 hits last night. And then I saw a stat that in the 10,000th and one game, that this is the first time that the 6 through 9 hitters have all had a double and an RBI. And so I think there's one that might be questionable with, it might be Rengifo's double, but they were saying that was the first time that's ever happened in Angels history.
It just took 10,000 games to get there.
That's all. Shawnoel extended his hitting streak to 6 games, which is great to see. The Angels are 5-10 with runners in scoring position in this one. Mike, did you notice the adjustments that Zach Neto made between Grayson Rodriguez up there and then the relief pitching after that, in terms of, he wasn't doing so much the high leg kick against Rodriguez because of the velocity. But then once the slower velo guys came in, he brought that back. So kind of makes you wonder if there's something to that, especially given the way that he was playing in this one, right?
Right. And he was toe tapping, and I like that. It almost reminded me of Shohei Ohtani a little bit, where he would toe tap and then he would hit. And it seems like when the velocity's up, that Neto really can get on it when he does do that. And so there might be some conversations that he has with Johnny Washington about how he moves forward against other pitchers. Rodriguez had some flat pitches, and so the Angels took advantage of that, as they should. But he was throwing hard, but his stuff wasn't as as good as it was in the previous start. He had a lot of middle in and middle of the plate pitches, and the Angels did exactly what you're supposed to do in those moments. You're supposed to crush those. And it's good to see them go 5 for 10 with runners in scoring position, a 500 batting average, knocking in runs, because they hadn't done that in the previous 5 games.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the lineup looks like today. It kind of figures to be more of the same. I mean, it was a lot of fun. And,
why not?
And the fact is when you have Trout up there, like Cope said, everydayer Cope, having somebody intimidating at the top of the lineup like that kind of makes you wonder that, he hit that home run off Rodriguez to start the game. And Rodriguez is just like, great, wonderful.
Deflating.
Yeah.
Right. I did like that Joe Adell was back out there, and I did like Moniak out there. And I liked that Hicks just pinch hit. And I think that's the best role for him, pinch hitting, playing some defense. And I think Adell is working his way into the everyday lineup. And I think you got to run with his hot bat. And then when he cools down, then you make that pivot. Same thing with Moniak. Moniak hasn't gotten very hot yet, and he's not barreling a lot of balls this year like he did last year. So he has to figure that out. But I do like the idea of having Adell out there a whole lot more. He's earned the right to be out there. I know he got picked off in the bottom of the 8th inning, but that was a good throw to first, and
it was a New York replay, so,
right? And it was I looked like Ty goes to the runner. I know I'm biased, but
take that with a grain of salt. Yeah.
But he's fast, right? He's still in a lot of bags, and so he was getting ready to go, and it's going to be a continued learning curve for him. But if we can get more positives than negatives from Joe Adell, I'm on board with that.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact is too is it's going to be really interesting to see Tyler Anderson out there today against Dean Kramer. So that's going to be the matchup today. And speaking of which, we want to thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen every single day. They're playing the Orioles, 1:07 Pacific time. Again, Tyler Anderson versus Dean Kramer. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels. Coming up on Locked On Angels, what did Griffin Canning do to have a much better start against the Orioles this time around? Well, we're going to tell you what he did do and what he didn't do well in his previous starts. So we'll get into all of that coming right up.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by our friends at Monopoly Go. I'm a big fan of Monopoly. I love dominating, and now I can dominate on the go with Monopoly Go. And a lot of people love this because it's been downloaded, Johnny, over 150 million times. I think that's all from our show. I think it's everybody who listens.
That's right. Thanks, everydayers.
Yes, exactly. And this is great because it is on your mobile phone, and it does have some twists. So you play on 100 of different Monopoly board games in crazy locations. You can build up amazing cities that bring in a whole lot of money. And the best part is you're playing with family, and you can play with friends. With Monopoly Go, you can charge rent, which causes them to, stress out and cry like Johnny used to when we would play against each other. There's, of course, all those iconic properties, and it's just like the classic Monopoly, but it's on your phone. You can make a heist with your friends of all the riches from the people around you, and there's leaderboards to see how you're doing compared to everybody else. So you should download this game right now. Play with your friends. Download Monopoly Go. It's free on the App Store and the Google Play Store.
And today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Look, Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you play against the numbers. All you have to do is pick 2 to 6 players and decide if they're going to produce more than or less than their projected stat. It's that easy. Get it right, and you can watch the winnings roll in. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your Prize Picks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. All you have to do is take your pick of more or less and add them to your Prize Picks entries today. Plus, you can get in on the NBA playoff action and win up to 100 times your money, Michael. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions and special offers for the biggest moments in sports, and Prize Picks now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account this basketball season. So download the app today, enter code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100. Again, that's code LOCKEDONMLB, all one word, all lowercase, and get that first deposit match of up to $100. Join Prize Picks today. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, and this is Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. And after you watch or listen to Locked On Angels, make the switch to Locked On Sports Today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every single day, bringing you all the biggest sports stories in the world. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The Angels are back at it at the Big A today. 107 Pacific time against the Orioles. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels.
Could be the third straight start for the Angels, having a starter that actually, does what they're supposed to do and gets deep into games, right? And I loved how Reed Detmers pitched well. I know he got the tough luck loss against the Orioles in game 1. John, Griffin Canning was better. I'm not going to say great, but he was better last night. 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned, 2 walks, 4 Ks. It felt like a Griffin Canning-esque type of start, right?
Yeah.
No home runs. That's the biggest key, the key there, right?
Right.
No home runs because he's been giving up a lot of home runs. 85 pitches, 62 strikes. Canning had 9 swings and misses last night. And Johnny, his speed, his velo was about where he normally is. He topped out at 95 miles an hour.
That's
just
good
1 mile an hour higher than normal. And his slider was around 85. His change was around 81. So the change of speed was really great for Griffin Canning. What are your thoughts on how Canning looked last night?
It's a shame because it felt like he was cruising through those first 4 innings.
Yeah, they didn't have a hit, I think, until the 5th?
Yeah, and then it all just kind of unraveled
right
there, and that's when they got the 3 earnings against him. So I was like, before he hit that 5th inning, I was like, hey, he might be able to go 5, 6 tonight. Like that would be really great to see the way he was on pace for it at the very least. So I was disappointed to see how it turned out in that 5th inning, but hey, gets to walk away with the win in this one. And that's a good, big deal for him. Absolutely.
Yeah. Against the Baltimore Orioles as well. Like this team really crushed him the first time out. Here was an interesting stat before the game. Canning entered this game. Lefties had a 1.096 OPS against Canning this season, and the right-handed batters had a 770 OPS. So the Orioles really stacked this lineup. They had 8 left-handed hitters, 2 were switch hitters, and yet for the career of Griffin Canning, the splits have been reversed. Lefties have been worse against him, and righties have been better. So I wonder if maybe Canning getting back to some of what he can do and what he's done regularly was really helpful last night, because they had a lefty strong lineup, and Canning typically does better against lefties outside of this year. So that anomaly might be disappearing if Canning continued to be the guy that he was in 2023 and the guy we saw in spring training.
Yeah, a couple of key moments from Canning last night. Top of the first, Griffin Canning had a 1-2-3 inning, and that was the first time he's had a 1-2-3 inning in the first this season, right? So in the first inning, I should clarify and make sure. But yeah, it's the first time he's had a 1-2-3 inning in the first, which is great to see. And in the second and the third, he didn't allow a run for the first time this year. And top of the fourth, he did get into some trouble, leadoff single and then a walk, but he recovered and got out of the inning with no damage. The first runs given up by Canning happened in the top of the 5th, like we were talking about. It didn't sink him, though. It wasn't like the end of the world. He continued to throw first pitch strikes, and the pitches the O's were hitting were really good pitches. Now, I did hear Wayne Randazzo on the broadcast talk about that first pitch strike percentage was below the 60% that they wanted, but by the time he finished his outing, he was right there at that 60% mark in terms of first pitch strikes.
He had 9 0-2 counts last night, John.
Huge.
That's exactly what the Angels have been hoping for, right? And it was a much better approach. He had 4 ground outs and 3 flyouts, and that's a good sign because Canning's ground ball ratio entering this game was just 32%. Last year, 43%. So more ground balls are a good sign for Griffin Canning. And I already mentioned no home runs, so fly balls weren't a threat. Like they were some deep fly balls, but the defense was able to get there. I guess you could call them, can of corn or lazy fly balls for him. So what did you see and what did you like and what did you see and what did you not like from Griffin Canning last night, Johnny?
For me, what I did like was the way he was getting his first pitch strikes. It wasn't just a fastball or a changeup. It was a mixture of all of his pitches, Mike. And so that's something that you and I had talked about. Was it yesterday when we were like, what are the pitchers going to tell Ron Washington? Hey, I can't throw first pitch strikes. Well, maybe sometimes it's just going to take a good pitch that that you can command in the zone to get you to strike one. And then, but it can't be the same one every time. Right. Yeah. And I think that was what Griffin Canning did well last night against the Orioles. What did you see? What did you like? What did you not like?
I really liked what you just emphasized there. In fact, one of our everydayers commented on our show yesterday on YouTube and said, based off of what you said, like maybe they're hesitant or maybe they're afraid that they're going to get rocked on that first pitch. And they made a really good comment. They said, hey, nothing to lose, right? Nothing to lose.
You're getting rocked anyway.
Right. Go out there and just go throw it and see what happens. Right. Yeah. And that's what I loved about last night is that Griffin Canning was like, I'm just going to go after these guys and I'm going to make sure that I'm using my best stuff. That's what I really liked. I don't think there was really anything that I didn't like. But this really felt like I said, a Griffin Canning-esque type of start, right? I think this is what you're going to get from him. He's going to go 5 or possibly 6. He'll give up a couple of runs and a couple of hits, but I loved that he didn't get shaken when the O's started coming back. Yeah. And he was able to get through 5, get the victory. I think that's huge for somebody whose confidence has kind of been, weary and struggling over the last couple of starts.
Definitely. And the other thing too is you think about what he's looked like in the past in terms of the kind of starts that he's had. Like I would even say like prior to his injury in 2021, like it was just so hit and miss with him. Yeah. And so even last year, like he wasn't the best pitcher in the world, but he was at least consistently Griffin Canning. You know what I'm saying? Like perfectly Griffin. And so that like that's something that you could come to count on is like, right. Yeah, maybe like 4 runs, but he gets you 6 innings. And so we just haven't seen that so far. The other thing, Mike, is the velo. That's huge. I was really concerned that his fastball velo was so down. And I thought, I hope it's not an elbow issue. Yeah. And so to see that back up again and to see the separation of speeds between that and his slider and his changeup, I think are all very good things.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by DoorDash. Okay, mark this down. Everybody, pay attention. Mother's Day is coming. It's just a couple of weeks away. So mark that in your calendar, set an alarm. You don't want to forget about that, especially for your mama or for the mother of your children. That would be bad. So remember Mother's Day, and you can get something thoughtful for mom with DoorDash. You can surprise her from wherever you're at with a fresh bouquet of flowers, maybe the latest tech, gift cards, self-care treatments, and so much more to make her day so much better. Does mom have a sweet tooth, or is she a tech enthusiast, maybe a beauty connoisseur? That's fun to say. Or is she a bit outdoorsy? All of those are good questions because you want to get mom what she wants for Mother's Day. No matter what she's into, you can make her smile with fruit or flowers or makeup or tech gear or workout gear and so much more. Get all of your Mother's Day gifts all in one place and get 50% off your next order up to $15 when you spend 15 or more on whatever you do purchase using DoorDash. And you can get all of that great deal by using our promo code Locked On MLB. So we're going to help you out with your wife or with your mom or with both, because at Locked On Angels, we care about you. And so does DoorDash. So that's Locked On MLB. Order with DoorDash today. Terms do apply.
So Mike, we came away with the W last night. So is it because, did you get superstitious or just a little stitious? I'm curious to know. And I'm curious to hear from our everydayers. We asked the question, do you watch the Angels like a normal person, or do you watch the Angels superstitiously? Now, here's an example. If the Angels score, do you stay in the same seat so you don't jinx the rally? Are you a jersey wearing fan, or wear your jersey for good luck? Well, you're even at home. Mike, you have a friend who's a Dodger. What does he do every time?
Every time the Dodgers hit a home run, he'll go on his story on Instagram and he'll yell and scream. He'll go, "Oh, Donnie!" And he does that. He does that because the Dodgers will hit more home runs, according to his superstition. He said the Dodgers will hit more home runs when he gets on there and yells. So he doesn't care who sees it. He's like, if I do that, the Dodgers seem to be more successful. So I loved that. Think it's funny, right? Kind of annoying. So I did unfollow. I actually didn't, but it kind of gets annoying. But it made me think about like things that we do and what we participate in. So Johnny, here's here's what I do, and especially wanting the Angels to break the losing streak last night, I found myself like not moving from the seat. So I followed some of what our everydayers said that they do, but I also didn't set up until Carlos Estevez got the last out. So when I say set up, I didn't grab my table, my light. I didn't grab the things for the podcast. I sat and I waited until Estevez got the final out.
Well done.
Because if I grabbed the table beforehand, I would be assuming that they're going to win. And you don't want to assume, right? Especially with this team. So that's something that I found myself doing last night. And I found myself doing a lot last year. Kind of forgot about it at the beginning of this year, but I found myself kind of subconsciously going, I'm not going to get set up until he gets this final out. And then I went, ooh, that's good. That's perfect for the podcast. What did you do? Besides you being here, what did you do?
I told you yesterday, me being back.
Yep.
Starting yesterday's show was going to be a good thing for this team. So there you go. I'm back. Speaking of being back, I've had the flu for like a week now, and it's just been maybe the worst flu I've ever had in my life, Mike. It's like crippling. And so before the game started, I felt a little feverish coming on. And so I was just like, oh man, I'm going to go lay down, take some Tylenol and stuff. And then I fell asleep, and I set an alarm for 6:30 so that I could watch the game. And I kept snoozing the alarm because I was like, I can't wake up. I'm just not feeling it right now. I feel so bad. So, by the time I do wake up, I look at the score and it's 7-0. I'm like, maybe I should just stay asleep.
Right. That's
because
funny.
As soon as I turned it on, it was the 5th inning, and that's when Griffin Canning started giving up the runs. And so I was like, maybe I should turn it off and just do everybody a favor. Like, Mike can recap. It's fine. I don't need to watch. But yeah, dude, it was just so funny to see that. But my big superstition, and I've been bitten in the butt twice with it now, is the post-game light that baby up tweet I do. Our Super Halo Bros tweet.
Yeah.
And I will say, light that baby up, put the final score, what happened, all this stuff. And then, put the Paradise City gif on there where everybody's rocking out. And it's just a tradition that I do. I have prepped that. I prepped it when Carlos Estevez blew the save against the Mariners. That
the Grand Slam or whatever it was.
The Grand Slam. Mm-hmm. And I prepped it before he got the save. And that was totally on me. I did the same thing this season when Carlos Estevez blew the save the other day, and because I prepped the stupid tweet. So just everydayers, just so you know, I'm not going to prep the tweet early. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to type it up so I can hit send. I don't care how fast on the draw I'm going to be with it. I'm just going to tweet it as soon as the game's over.
You're going to wait.
I'm going to be patient. Yes, exactly.
Hold, right?
Mike, isn't there something to it sometimes where, like, if you do or don't watch, you're like, man, should I just not participate in this? Because I feel like I'm the jinx here.
Well, that's what a lot of everydayers said when they commented about what they did. A lot of them were like, if they're winning, I'm going to keep listening, but if they're not, I might turn it off. And then if they score runs, I'm not going to turn it back on. I'm just going to check the baseball app, the MLB app, or I'm going to check Twitter. And so that was a lot of people said that, like, I'm just going to, whatever's happening, I'm going to keep doing that thing. And it's funny because a lot of people are like, I'm not superstitious, but there's something in us that goes, well, I'm just going to keep doing this if it's going to be helpful, right? Like, I'll stand up in front of the TV and I'll fold my arms, and so my family will come out and they'll know, like, oh, are the Angels like about ready to do something? And I'm like, well, they're doing something good, so I'm just going to stand here and just rock back and forth, right? You have a jersey. Is it a Trout jersey, or what was the good luck jersey for you?
Well, I don't think it's a good luck jersey, but I do wear my Trout jersey to the game all the time. I finally got like a real jersey for Christmas last year, because I've always been like a shirt guy with Angels across the front and the player on the back, and because I like those t-shirts. But I finally got a real jersey last year, and it was a Trout jersey, so I'll always wear that one to the stadium for sure. Yeah.
There were some everydayers that talked about they don't go to games anymore because every time they go, they lose. And when they don't go, they win. I know Swilly Sports said the Angels are 0-4 when she showed up to games. So she didn't go and they won. And she was like, you're welcome. I love that. So the superstitions are great. Luckily, the Angels have broken the losing streak. So whatever you did, everydayers, for this game, gonna need you to do it again today as they play against the Orioles, right?
Yeah, we need a series win. And how about a series win against the freaking Baltimore Orioles? Just trying to save time, Mike.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. The Angels do play the Orioles at 1:07 today, so be advised that it's going to be an early game, and that's good news. You can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening to today's show, come on over to YouTube, get in the comments section. It's the best way to get in touch with Mike and I and be part of the conversation. Mike, what do you have on deck for Thursday's show?
Johnny, the Angels have 4 picks in the top 100 picks in the draft this year. A lot of us know that. But we got news at how much money they're going to be able to spend, and it's good news. So we're going to talk about that, why it's good news, and possibly some players that they could select, similar players that were at those spots in years past. We're going to talk about who they could potentially get. And scouts are really excited about what the Angels could get. They think they could get really 4 really good ball players. So we're going to talk about all of that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
I want to be the guy that they select because of the Ohtani draft pick. I want to be that guy.
Yeah. No pressure. Right.
Just I want to have something to prove, right?
Yeah. That'd be
all right,
great.
friends. Thanks for being here. We hope to see you back here again tomorrow. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us. So we'll see you back here on Thursday.
He's going to need to throw with both hands.
Yes.
The guy that they select.
Swing the bat with his feet.
Yes.